What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful day today. Very comfortable weather. Have some organic cantaloupe here. You know, cantaloupe, one of my favorite fruits. I love the flavor. When I was a kid, my father would buy cantaloupe all the time, and I would go to the refrigerator. I'd cut it in half, remove the seeds, but I wouldn't cut it up into pieces. I would take a spoon and I would dig it out, and then I would, scrape it off until I got to the green part, and then I'd toss it. I don't do that now. I mean, I could do it, but now I cut it. Very good. One time back in 1983, I was with a couple of friends of mine, and we're doing like a little picnic in some area where there were these farms that grew cantaloupe. Not just this kind of cantaloupe, but the honeydew. And we went into this area and we grabbed one. We could have been shot on sight, but we grabbed one. There were thousands of them growing, and just think of that one as if it went rotten and rotted, and they had to toss it. But anyway, we grabbed it, and then we went up the street, or maybe a block up, and we broke it, and we opened it up and started eating it, and it was the best tasting melon to this day that I've ever had, and I've had some good ones, but when you get it right off the farm, you can't beat that flavor. But this one here is very close, very good. Not a honeydew though. Sometimes they're not ripe enough, and they taste like pumpkin. So a lot of times back then I'd go and grab one of these cantaloupes, cut it in half, and I'd sit in my room watching the cartoons on Saturday morning. Good days back then. I had a good childhood. So when the $6 Million Man show was on, I was a little kid, and if anybody knows anything about the show, they know that in the early seasons of that show, Lee Majors wore a bracelet. I think his right arm, bionic one. He had a bracelet right here, and I was fascinated with that bracelet. I wanted a bracelet like that. I wanted everything that he had, but I couldn't get it. But so anyway, one day I was walking around, and on the street I saw a bracelet on the ground there, and I grabbed it, and it was a bracelet his shape, but it was rounded edges, and on the top it had some kind of like brass looking wire wrapped around the top part. So I took it and I put it on my hand, and it never came off that year. And I had a teacher. Now I'm a little kid back then, but I had a teacher who for some reason did not like the fact that I had this bracelet on. She would always comment on it. She's like, I don't like that bracelet. Why do you have that bracelet? On and on and on, until finally she called my parents. And she said that I don't, he's got a bracelet that I don't like. My parents were like, why does she care? I mean, what's the problem? It was just a metal thing. It looked beat up. Maybe that was the reason. Maybe she didn't like seeing beat up jewelry, but it looked like beat up. So I had it on, and it wasn't quite the $6 Million Man thing, but it kind of made me feel like it was. So I would do my slow motion running, my noise when I would look at things with one eye, my jumping, all that stuff, lifting things with my right arm with the noise, and then I would see the bracelet on there, and it made me feel like I had a bit of the bionic bug in me. But this is the look that he had. So he had it on like that, right around the wrist area like that. And anytime he did anything, you know, bionic, they always showed that bracelet. And he only had it on in the early episodes, like early seasons. If you see the $6 Million Man, like 1978, 77, those years, he doesn't have that anymore. He got rid of it. And then he, you know, grew a mustache, which kind of threw off the whole, you know, he kind of lost the $6 Million Man look with that mustache. But this is what he had something. Now this one here is a missing in action from the Vietnam War. So you have a guy here who went missing, and I think it's a missing in action, not a killed in action. And he went missing in Vietnam in March 4th, 1971. And so people would wear this as a memorial, a reminder that this person is missing still. The remains haven't been found. If he's alive, you know, he's never been found, which none of them are alive still. But anyway, it was kind of like a popular thing, and that's what I think he had on. He had something that looked like this. It may be something different, but I think it was this. So if you see pictures of the $6 Million Man from 74, 75, around there, that's what he had. And looking at this, I think I'm actually looking at his hand. That's how much of a memory I have of that show. But he was always like doing something. They'd show the bracelet here. I thought back then that they ran out of skin, artificial skin in this spot. Like if you took this off, you could see the wires. So they gave him that to put on there to hide the easily accessible wires. But so as a continuation to that, so because of all the criticism about the bracelet, my parents, they went and got one for me, a silver one, nice and thick, and they gave it to me, and I wanted to tell them, why don't you ask me first why I'm wearing the bracelet, and then that way you know what kind of bracelet to get me. They didn't even ask, they just went and got one, and it was nothing at all like this. I didn't want a bracelet. I'm not a jewelry guy. I mean, I'm not putting jewelry on, but you know, they went and got me one. They thought I just wanted a bracelet. No, I didn't want a bracelet. I wanted something that emulated the $6 Million Man. That's what I wanted. And if they said that to me, I would have said, oh, let me show you a picture. Let me show you an episode. You see that around Lee Major's wrist? That's what I'm looking for. So they got me one where it's silver here, and then it's got a hole and a hole, and then it's got a chain that links together underneath, and you clip it on. So it's, you know, and it's kind of loose on your hand, so you're always doing this, you know. That's not what I wanted, but I was grateful they got it. And then they carved in my name at the jewelry store, carved in Nick, like an ID. If I got lost, I'd be like, read that, that's me, find my parents. So I remember one day we were at a store called Leechmare's, which is a store that I loved going to. It was like a Best Buy in those days. I even got my bike there in 1975, 76, sorry. Well, anyway, there was a kind of like a little forest in the back of the parking lot, and when they gave me that piece, I said, okay, I'll throw away the other one since it's such a troubling piece to some people. So I went to the back of where these woods are, and I threw it with a bionic sound, with my bionic arm in slow motion, and I still remember it twirling in the air and then going into the forest and disappearing. So I don't know if that forest is still there, but if it is, that bracelet, which was probably like a brass, is probably still in there. If I went in there with a metal detector, I'd find it, even though it's decades ago. So anyway, and that teacher, I don't know, she had a fixation on that bracelet. always commented on it. She's like, yeah, what are you, that bracelet, what are you wearing that, you know, awful bracelet? So, you know, I don't know. And to make matters even worse, to get on her nerves a little bit even more, I had these sneakers that, you know, in those days your foot grows rapidly, and at one point those sneakers got tight on me, but they weren't done yet. I mean, they still had a good amount of, you know, wear and tear on the bottom, or to have wear and tear done to them. So I went and I got a razor blade, and I cut the front where my toes are. I cut that out, so now my toes are exposed, you know, with the socks on and everything. I went to school after I had done that to free my feet inside because they were too small for me now, these shoes. And I saw her do a quick glance at me, and she's like, almost like rolled her eyes, like, here we go, another thing now I don't like. So yeah, she was, you know, looking at it now from the point of view of an older person, which I am, I feel like she was a bit of a pain in the ass, you know, like too much. There were other kids wearing crap. Nobody said anything to them. And I have a feeling she's still alive. So, she was very young back then. Like, I want to say she was fresh out of college. And, what's going on here? So she was fresh out of college, very young, and, you know, attractive. So she had a bit of the Linda Carter look from Wonder Woman, and everybody would tell her that in class. I never told her that. I could tell the difference. So everybody would always say, oh, you look like Wonder Woman, you look like Wonder Woman. And then she kind of, like, you know, picked up on it, and they'd say to her, how was your weekend? And she'd be like, well, I had to go to California and shoot an episode of the Wonder Woman show. And everybody would laugh, and, you know, but she was young. Now, back then I thought she was old. Not old, but older. But when I think of what she looked like, she couldn't have been more than 24, 25 back then. Well, who knows? Now she's an old woman with a cane, because a lot of years have passed. But back then she was very youthful. I would say, out of all the teachers I had, she was probably the biggest pain in the ass, but also the most attractive. We didn't have attractive teachers back then. Oh yeah, she was very young. I'd like to find out what Lee Majors was actually wearing, but I'm pretty sure it was one of these. Anyway, that's it for now. I'd love anybody watching any of these videos knows I'm a fan of the $6 Million Man. If anybody knows Lee Majors, tell him that I would love to meet him. Just for a few minutes, you know, just to say hi, tell him what an influence he was when I was a kid, like he was to millions of other kids, but I was a little bit beyond all the other kids. My father put up a chain-link fence around our property when the $6 Million Man was at its height. And all the loose pieces that he had in the yard from putting up this chain-link fence, I collected. And I tucked my shirt in my pants, and I put all the you know, little pieces of metal inside my shirt, and all day I ran around with these pieces inside my shirt. At the end of the day, I pulled my shirt open out of my pants, and the metal was gone. And as a kid, I thought my body absorbed the metal and turned me bionic. And I was very excited until I realized, no, the logical answer to this is that they fell out of your shirt. Anyway, that's it. Ciao for now.